Well, this video is not going to be controversial at all. No, all joking aside, 13 Reasons Why is a touchy subject for a lot of people, so I'm going to try and balance out my feelings on both sides of the argument about the show, and hopefully not offend anyone in the process. So apologies if that happens. It's not my aim at all. Because I just want to talk about the show, really, because it's quite... I've not seen a reaction like this to a show in a while, if ever, really, where there's such contrasting thoughts from the viewers on the message that the show wants to convey. So I thought I'd just talk about it because it's important and we need to talk about it. So that's what I'm doing. So I like the show. Just to start the video off with that, I do think it's a good show. And for the first week that it was out, the only thing I was seeing was good things. Everyone else who was seemed to watch it seemed to like it. And then I started seeing like a lot of hate for it. And I mean like a lot of hate. Because, right, I'll start off why I like the show and why I liked it. And then I'll talk about what people are saying that don't like it. Because it changed my view on the show slightly. But I'll start off what my initial thoughts of the show were. And just based on the fact that it's getting people talking about suicide is a good thing, because we need to talk about it as a culture, because it is an issue and we need to talk about it. So the fact that the show's got people talking about it is a good thing. But actually, the show is very well made. It's a good show. All the actors are great. And the story that is good. It's a good show in its own right if you ignore the themes that are going on, but you can't, because that's what the show's about, and the themes are too important to ignore, so they need to be taken into account when you're talking about the show. So when I was watching it, I thought it was a pretty good representation of how people can affect you and how one thing can be said and it might not seem that big of a deal at the time, but you don't know what else is going on with that person. That one thing could ruin someone's day, the month, the week, it could harm that person more than you think. So I thought it did a pretty good job of that. But then when I saw all the backlash towards it in regards to it's not a great representation of mental health, I agree with that. As someone who likes the show, I do agree with that, because Hannah's blaming everyone else for it, and it's saying everyone else is to blame, and that's why she killed herself. Whereas the show could have done a much better job at analysing Hannah's mental health, which they didn't do a lot of. So it was always passing the buck to someone else, blaming them, instead of focusing on Hannah and her issues and what she's going through, regardless of what everyone else is saying to her and doing to her. I think they could have done a much better job at analysing Hannah and her head instead of everyone else's. So I think there's valid points on both parts on whether you think it's good representation or bad representation. I think it's just sort of where you lie. So I'm sort of in the middle now, because I get both sides. But one thing that I completely agree with, and I think people who love the show and defend the show will agree with me, is when they shouldn't have shown her actual death. And the people behind the show are saying that they wanted it to be hard to watch, and it definitely was hard to watch for obvious reasons. You're watching someone kill themselves, and that was a step too far. In terms of the drama, they're creating a show. They did not need to show that, because it's harrowing stuff. That what affected me more, because that was hard to watch, but what hit me was the mum's reaction. That was so perfectly acted. It's such a powerful moment, and you didn't need to show Hannah before that. You really didn't, because then it's damaging. That it's really damaging to do what they say they're aiming to do with the show. They didn't need to show that. They only needed to show the mum walking in, because that is hard-hitting stuff. You don't need to show all that because that's damaging to people. And as someone who suffers from depression and bad anxiety, you know, it's not an easy watch anyway. It's a heavy show. If you're feeling down going into it, you're going to feel down coming out the other side. But I do think it's important, and we do need to still talk about it. I think the show could have done... The show does some stuff really well, I think, and it doesn't do other stuff as well. But the fact that it's got us talking about it is a good thing. And what I will say is, it's just been announced that there's going to be a season 2, and as someone who likes the show, I think that's a terrible idea. I think it's a terrible idea. It's exploiting what they've set up, and I think it proves the point that when they're saying that the show was just to inform people, and make mental health aware, make people aware of it, making a season 2 just throws that out of the water, really. Because you've showed Hannah's story. That was the reason of the show. Hannah's story, that's finished. They're capitalising on the success of the show when they should have just kept it as it was. Because now it's not going to be focusing on mental health or suicide. I'm imagining. I don't know how they're going to carry that on. And then if they show any more of Hannah, that just removes the point from the whole first series. So making a season 2 is a completely bad idea. Anyway, that's just my ramblings on it because I really wanted to talk about it. But let me know what you think, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer on how you feel about the show. Like I say, I'm in the middle now. Let me know what you think of the show, what you think it did well, what you think it didn't do well, and what are your feelings on season 2. Comment whatever you think and we'll start a conversation, because the most important thing is that we talk about stuff like this. If you're going through anything, I'll make sure the comments are a friendly place to be, because I would love to talk to people about it. Any thoughts, any ramblings, comment below. I'll make sure it's a friendly place, whichever side of the argument you fall on. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Cheers, guys.